Hello there you, and welcome to 2 million orcs are about to launch a daring midnight raid against this Imperial Guard army. Will the Imperials be able to win the day, or will the sneaky purple orcs be collecting some teeth? As always, if you do enjoy this content, do leave a like and consider subscribing, as that's the best way to support the channel. Now, let's get on with the battle. Here we go then, ladies and gentlemen, kicking off the Orkies daring a midnight raid. And today, they've got to try and close that gap between them and the Imperial lines. Oh my god. Sorry, orcs are already flying through the air. They've got to try and close that gap here and surround the Imperial defenders before dawn breaks. Otherwise, the Imperials will have a much clearer view of what's going on here. And so will we, quite frankly. As you can already see, though, the orcs have managed to close that gap right into that Imperial conscript front line. But some of them are being sent skywards thanks to the Imperial artillery. And of course, as you saw in the intro there, the knightly Paladin has also joined in the fray. It seems like we've got a lot of Storm Boys at the moment and Mega Nobs on that front line. Look at this, the Storm Boys in amongst the rabble here. The orcs have provoked the Beehive, and the Beehive has woken up very angry indeed. We're spitting out Bolt to Death here into the green mass that is knocking at their door. The orcs, undeterred by the losses that they're taking here, though, are more than happy to get right into that fight. Let's go have a look at our flank over here, because this is what is going to be absolutely crucial. Now, you may or may not be able to see on YouTube, depending on how the compression handles a midnight battle here, be able to see that the orcs are making a stalwart progress, actually. Just gobbling up that ground between them and the Imperials here, chasing down the few little rabble that they managed to catch out in the middle of the desert. Oh, you poor souls, you have no idea. Big Bert is going to come and stomp on your head. What happened behind that rock there, we don't want to know. That poor Imperial was probably just torn limb from limb. An artillery piece here, though, looking rather exposed. The Imperials desperately trying to defend the flank, as it looks like as dawn is starting to break across the battlefield here. The orcs completely closing that gap between themselves and the Imperials. The Imperials will be able to actually start seeing what's going on here now. Of course, the Space Marines all along knew how bad it was, but the poor old regular conscript on the front line is only just able to see the true horde that is in front of him. Look at all them orcs here. And of course, the Imperial artillery here working overtime, sending orcs up into the stratosphere. A magnificent sight to behold. Now, we've got to watch out for the Orky shooters. They may be able to take out the gun crews. But at the moment, the Imperial defense is holding. They are taking a lot of losses. 17,000 losses so far, just hitting 18. But the orcs have already hit 300,000 losses. That cross-fire and bolt-fire as well. Look at this guy. Just striding over the battlefield here. Annihilating large groups of orcs. And already this combat line looks absolutely disastrous here for some of the orcs. There's large pools of gore starting to fill upon the floor, and the orcs are walking all over their dead comrades to try and get to that front line. The Imperials, though, again, are suffering heavy losses here. It's not like this defense is without cost. In places, we've got the Kriegers, like over here. Look at this, a bunch of stalwart lads with their shovels standing on a mountain of dead orcs, holding back that line, allowing the Imperial firepower to do its job. And that truly is. We've actually built a defensive perimeter here out of the dead orcs at the moment. Really good for the Imperials. The orcs looking like they're struggling to get enough units into this flank. We've got a small gaggle of orcs over here. I believe that's what a group of orcs is called, a gaggle. And when a gaggle gets too big, it becomes a wah. I did just make up gaggle. I don't know what a small group of orcs is called. Oh my god, look at that. I love that sight in the background. Just a couple of Space Marines there. Atop a mound of dead orcs, blasting them like the Doom guy. That support fire, though, that's coming in, absolutely invaluable yet again. The orcs here are making a little bit of progress, though. Look at this, they have managed to get over their dead comrades here and start closing that gap once again between them and the Imperial line. The formation of goo in the center, though, is starting to become deadly to both sides. It's become impassable for the orcs. Some of the Imperials are going to end up drowning in that. Let's keep on scooting down our front line, though, as true daylight starts to break here. The orc hordes are just pounding into our Imperial defense. Again, artillery doing its work. You can see that the The Knight Paladin here now is actually under assault from the Orcs. Again, unfortunately, we can't make vehicles, so this thing can still get tossed through the air like a salad. It's kind of funny to see, but, you know, it shouldn't happen, but there's nothing we can do about it. But look at that, though. He's taking out hundreds and hundreds of Orcs there. The Orcs really are taking a bit of a pounding. That front line is holding for now, though. You can see every now and then we get these little conscripts making Kriegers making their way to the front line to try and hold back the hordes, allow them Imperials to lay down that cover. But they're few and far between at the moment, as the Orcs here trying to put out a large flanking maneuver. The Imperials have maneuvered some conscripts into position here to meet the charge. And hopefully it's not too little too late here. Actually, it's kind of good on this side. Looks like we wiped out most of the Orcs here. They are pouring reinforcements into this area. We have still got a lot of Orcs yet to get through. It's an interesting Imperial defense shape that we've got here, actually. It'll allow for a lot of crossfire in these sections, but the Orcs are also closing them in to a bit of a pincer maneuver here. There, that front line is getting absolutely chugged through at the moment. Oh, look at this. It looks like we've got a little bit of a break. Some of the Imperials here retreating backwards. The Orcs having a little bit of a surge forward there in the center of the Imperial defense. That's a little bit worrisome. That could be a chink in the Imperial defense here. If the Orcs keep trying to push this, that could split the army in two, and that'll be deadly for the defense. We don't want that to happen at all. You can see the Imperials trying to get out of the way of the Orcs at the moment. They're not retreating, just simply trying to find a little bit of space between them and the Orcs. That is, yeah, that could be really deadly. I'm really worried about what's going to happen here. The Orcs are thrusting more and more units into that. And you can see this part of the Imperial line is backing up ever so slightly now. A little bit panicked, I would say. There's a thin amount of Imperial troops here compared to the rest of the line. Look how thick that is over there. But in this particular portion, for some reason, we seem to have run out of Imperial troops. We have got a couple of Space Marines still holding the ground here. But that Orc push is just piercing right through the center of our Imperial defense now. And the Orcs are starting to capitalize on this gain. They're realizing that there's a hole in the defense. More and more Orcs now pouring into that breach. The Imperials that have been moved over to this flank, perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps that line over there was thinned out because this is where all the troops have ended up. And them being maneuvered out of position to hold the wider flank has probably caused that center line to collapse. Or is this an Imperial trap? Are they just catching the Orcs here in the middle of a crossfire between the two armies? Because that seems a little bit crazy at the moment. We've only got a couple of Orcs that have pushed this far out, and they are sort of caught in this concave of death. But more and more Orcs are pushing into that breach. It's going to be really hard for the Imperials to recapture that ground now. How are we doing on this far flank? Okay, so it looks like the Orcs might actually be running out of reinforcements little by little. This could be a good opportunity here for the Imperials to regain some control over this side of the field. If they can manage to start pushing around the Orky masses, the gap could be really good. But look how far these Orcs have actually pushed forward now. There was our lake from earlier on. The Orcs now having pushed past it. That bolt of fire is still ripping apart that front line of Orcs. There's 600,000 Orcs here. 80,000, just under 90,000 Imperial defenders. I'm really worried about this pincer maneuver that the Orcs now pretty much have successfully pulled off. They've split the Imperial defense in twain. It is absolutely catastrophic now. The defense here starting to look like the dead slug formation. That's what I call the dead slug. I mean, I'm not going to say what else it kind of looks like. But yeah, really, you know, they've kind of made these two little dimples here and a... Yeah, well, I think I've made my point. Going back over here to the other side of the field. The Orcs now totally pushing the advantage in this flank. And the entire rest of the Imperial defense, yet again, look at this. The same thing is happening. They're being pushed into a pincer maneuver, and some Imperials are trying to get out of the way. We really need to break at this side of the Orcs, and we have. I think we have. Yes, look at this. Okay, so the Imperials on this side have broken the Orcs. They need to quickly wrap these troops around and start flanking the Orcs on this side, because the Orcs have gained a major advantage on the other side of the field here. Pulling off a double pincer maneuver on the Imperial Guard. It's cost them dearly. They're down to 70,000 units. The Orcs barely losing 100,000 there, which it is a lot and it isn't to all kind. You know what I mean? But having said that, I suppose it's the same for both sides, realistically. I don't know why I'm valuing an Imperial Guardsman's life more than an Orc's. I guess it's because I can relate more to an Imperial Guardsman than an Orc. I don't think I've ever been a brutal monkey, a knuckle-dragging savage. So it's kind of hard for me to reconcile with Orcs. But oh my god, look at that front line. That is magnificent here. The Imperial defense done really well on this side. A solid group of conscripts working together here. The amassed firepower of the Imperial Guard defending it really well. So, like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over this side of the field. The Orcs now completing the pincer maneuver on the last of the Imperial Guard this side. You can see a couple of looted tanks here firing in just for the lulz. Oh, look at this as well. We've still got our knightly paladin over here. And he is just absolutely surrounded. Look at that. Oh my god. He is absolutely surrounded by a massive pile of Orc corpse there. That's insane, man. Oh my god, that dude has killed so many. Maybe the Orcs will lose just because of the knightly paladin, but something tells me when it's the only thing left on the field, or if it's the only thing left on the field, the Orcs might just have enough. Look at all the looted tanks actually firing at it. That is a lot of looted tanks currently, just absolutely blasting into this thing. Though you can't blame them, it is a deadly threat, the most deadly threat on the field. Sorry, Space Marines, but you're nothing compared to this dude. That's like a Space Marine on extreme steroids here. Our Imperial defense line, though, it's looking rather meek over this side. The Orcs pouring their troops into this breach. The Imperials, though, look at this. They are starting to wrap them troops around now, providing that covering fire into the flank. And the Orcs are really, really struggling over here. They've just got these little groups that keep breaking off to try and engage them. And I suppose what they're actually doing is keeping the Imperials sort of busy over this side, stopping them from coming down and making that huge flanking maneuver that they need to do. Could be a genius move here by the Orcs. I just love the amount of tank rounds being fired at that flipping thing over there. But yeah, I don't know. This is a really tough one to call here. 50,000 Imperial defenders left. We've got 400,000 Orcs. And yeah, while the Orcs have taken control of one side of the field, the Imperials have definitely taken control of the other. And we do still have our Paladin in play. Oh no, it has finally fallen, ladies and gentlemen. Just a typical, just as I said there. The Orcs let out a valiant cheer here. I mean, it cost them a couple of thousand. Oh no, okay, so this could be really deadly then for the remaining defenders here. The Orcs coming in on the far flank here across the desert. And I think, oh my god, are we going to get stuck in another pincer maneuver here? The Orcs have only got 380,000 here. I'm hoping that the Imperial defense has just got enough firepower in it to be able to hold the line. That the conscripts are looking a little bit shaky. They're quaking in the space boots here. We've got Storm Boys rushing that front line. Combined with the choppers, it might just be too much here. I suppose there's also mega knobs and knobs thrown into the mix, as well as the firepower coming in from the shooters and the looted tanks. But you can see just a line of shooters all over here, just blasting down into the Imperial defense. Oh my god, we've got Lehman Russies drowning in goo here, and I'm pretty sure the goo is from both teams at this point. This is going to be a real hard defense for the Guard to pull off at this point. Yeah, look at that. The Orcs are just chewing through the rank. That was a real close fight up until this point. I do think, though, that the Orcs have slightly got the edge just because of the numbers. Unless the Imperials can pull out some insane defense at this edge of the field, which is still possible. They have got a lot of free units over here. The Orcs are still making their way over. We've still got Space Marines on the field, as well as Lemon Rossies. Oh god, look at that. It looks horrific. It's not a position you want to be in, is it really? Like, the Imperial Guardsmen in the middle, slowly watching all their comrades just get absolutely ripped asunder by Orcs here, is a deadly, deadly thing. Oh, but the Orcs using the cover of darkness, an absolutely magnificent maneuver here. The fighting has been going on all day. And in places, it's really hard to call because it does look like the Imperials keep getting the upper hand and then the Orcs slowly pull back the gap. Oh no, they're about to cut off the nib here as well by the looks of it. We're going to have a small pocket of resistance with Imperial Guard left. It's a real shame as well, because the Imperials really did manage to just smash their way through this Orc flank over here, causing huge casualties for the Orky numbers. But so what I think we'll quickly do here is we'll time-lapse this last little bit to get our final kill counter as dusk is starting to set. A whole day of combat. We'll be back in a second. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we come down here to the last 1,000 Imperial Guardsmen, they managed to kill 1.2 million Orcs. I mean, that's pretty impressive, but it does look like the Orcs managed to pull off their daring midnight raid here, as night starts to set on our battlefield once again. The looting tank's doing an excellent job of taking down the Knightly Paladin, just completely focusing fire on it until its shields were nothing. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, before the Knightly Paladin went down, the last thing it did was activate its power core. And as always, I do hope you had a blast. I know I did. Please do come and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. A massive shout out to all you channel members who help to keep this channel going. And if you're not a channel member, why the heck not? Click the join button down below. And while you're at it, go ahead and check out the amazing ChaoticPinky store. We got some really cool merch over there. With all that being said, as always, until next time, peace.